Alright guys, welcome back to another tutorial, and in this video, since we learned last time that loops are freaking awesome, what I want to do is I want to teach you guys a new type of loop called the do while loop. Now, it's pretty much a way that you can run a loop just like before, but you can guarantee that your code runs at least once. So let me show you the syntax for it and when you would actually use this. Type do, and then without any parentheses, we're not testing anything so far, hit the curly brackets, and inside here is where the code's going to go. The meat of your code, anything you want to run in this loop, it's going to occur right here, just like the while loop. Now for the test, outside your curly brackets, that ending one, type while, and this is where you test it right here. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to run your code, and then it's going to make the test after it to see if it's true. If it's true, it's going to run your code again over and over and over again until the test becomes false. So the syntax is a little bit different, and like I said, what it does is since your computer programs run from top to bottom, it's going to guarantee this code runs at least once before the test even occurs. So if this test is false, you already ran your code once, so I'll show you guys why this is useful right now. So a couple tutorials ago I showed you guys how to make this program that allows the user to enter 3 test grades, and then it gave them the average of those test grades. Well, whenever you're making a program like this, you want to make it adaptable for any users. You don't know if they're going to enter like 3 test grades, 10 test grades, if it's a big, I don't know, college that wants to enter everyone's test grade. So you want to make, like I said, a program that can accept as many test grades as you want and still gives you the correct answer. So let's go ahead and make that right now. And I want to delete this because this fake code is kind of, I don't know, cramping my style. So we need a couple variables, and we'll make them all floats. It'll be easier to work with. And we'll set them all equal to 0 by default. So this is pretty much going to keep a running score of all your grades. So if you enter 3 scores of like, I don't know, 50, then 50, then 30, then your grade is going to be 130. And the reason that we need to keep track of all the scores combined is in order to get the average, we take all your scores combined over total amount of tests you took, and it gives you your average. Simple stuff. So the next thing is we need a variable to, can't type and talk at the same time, to pretty much store whatever they entered for that test. So the current score that they entered and typed in, we'll just go ahead and store it in score entered. And actually, let me just do this since I'm a lazy bum, and all of these are going to be equal to 0. So the third variable we need is just number of tests, and this is 0 right now, but we can go ahead and increment it each time using that auto increment. Remember that? So the last one right here is just the average, and of course we know what that is. That's pretty much the end goal. Their average test score, we'll print it out right there. So now that we have all of these, we can go ahead and add some, actually let's go ahead and give them a little prompt right now. Printf. Alright, so this program, like I said, is going to allow them to enter an unlimited amount of grades, and it's always going to give them their average and some other stats as well if we want. So how do we tell the program that it's time to stop running? Well, we'll say that we'll just make a simple condition right now. We'll just say whenever the user types in 0 to quit the program. So that's going to be the test. So press 0 when complete, and just add some new lines so I don't know, it just looks a little bit neater that way. Now in your do statement, remember this is going to occur at least one time by default. So the first thing I want to occur is pretty much just to print out those stats, basically saying your test and your average as well. So it's pretty much going to say well, I just said it, so it's kind of stupid. So tests, which is going to be 0 by default, and it's going to increase by 1 every time they enter a new test. And remember, this is a float, so put %f, and remember what we did up here is we made everything afloat because we saw that your computer works really well when everything is the same data type. But if you think about it, you can't like take half a test, and by default floats occur, or excuse me, display 6 decimal places. So you don't want to display like 1.000 tests because he's like, what the heck is going on? I can't like have 1.5 tests. So whenever you want to kind of cheat, you don't have to typecast this. You can just press point 0, and it's just gonna display the whole number of the float, like 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So it's just a quick little tip. So that's going to be how many tests they entered, and this average of course, you know what that is, %f, and we can display this to like, I don't know, 2 decimal places. That'll be good. Now kick that to a new line, and of course it says, okay, well now you need to give me a float and the average, and this first one is how many tests they entered, and the second one is average. Sweet. Now after this, what we need to do is just give them a little prompt to actually enter their test score. So put enter test score. Actually, what I want to do is kick this one on a new line as well. And I actually don't want to break to a new line after this because I think it'll be cooler if it just displays this on the screen and they can just enter it to the right. It'll be a blinking line on the right. Look pretty cool, in my opinion. So now, of course, scanf. What kind of data are you entering? Well, we are entering a float. And after this, where do you want to store it? Well, we just want to store it in the variable score entered. Now remember to put your ampersand there because it is not an array. So pretty much the user is going to type in some value, hopefully like 90 something. And the first thing that we need to do is take whatever they entered and add it to grade, because remember, grade is the running tally or the running total of all of your scores entered. So grade plus equals score entered. So if they entered 50 over and over again, this would be 50, 100, 150, 200, and score is not gonna keep increasing. It's just gonna be different every time. Some like 0 to 100. So after this, what we need to do is increase the number of tests by 1. And we can just do that with a little increment operator, plus plus. So okay, we added the score to grade, we increased number of tests by 1. Now the only other thing we need to do is calculate the average. That's the goal of the program. So to calculate their average test score, easy stuff. All we do is take their grade divided by the number of tests, and boom, there you go. And also, we don't print it out right now because that's what we do in this line right here. So the last thing that we need to actually do is just remember, right now this is going to keep running and running and running over and over again because we don't have a condition to tell it when to stop. And we'll say the test for this is when score entered is not equal to 0, keep running. So it's pretty much saying if they entered anything other than 0, do this loop again. So once they enter 0, it's going to break out of it and your program is going to end. So let's go ahead and run this right now and see if I messed anything up, which I did. And what I do, undefine a reference to print because I didn't put printf, and any other bugs. Looks good. Alright. It like took me a second to figure out what's going on. So pretty much said press 1, 0. Okay, everything looks good right now. Enter a test score. Let's see if this bad boy works. We'll put 70, 80, and 90 so we can just make sure that everything's working correctly. Okay, so after I entered one test, test 1, average equals 70. Hit 80, well, you entered 2 tests, your average is now 75. Enter 90, you entered 3 tests. After 3 tests, your average is 80, and you can keep doing this forever and ever. 54, and eventually, what's going to happen is once the user hits 0, check it out. that's going to process and say, okay, I'm only supposed to do this loop whenever, as long as you didn't enter 0. You did enter 0, and this text down here is pretty much saying end of your program. It returns 0 right here, which signifies the end. So that is a do loop, and it's a pretty cool way that you can enhance your, what's it called, this like average calculating test program, whatever the heck you want to call it. But hopefully you guys understand how that works. If you don't, then just ask me any questions you have, or if you have a bug in your program, post the code on my forum. I'll be happy to answer it for you guys. But for now, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.